This is Duke University.
There are two different problems, and so one problem is how do you get democracy off the ground? How do you make it, what would be the successful strategy? And the other strategy is what's like the ethical or right way to do it. And those two things may not always be consistent with one another. So in the book I argue that, take the case of Reconstruction, that it was right for the Congress of the United States to reject the solution that some people thought, which is that white people in the South shouldn't be able to vote, for 40 years or something. That there should be a long-term period where people were excluded in order to reestablish the foundations of democracy in the South. And maybe that's what it would have required. And so they took this other solution, which was to try to include everybody. That failed. So I think it was the right solution. And so there may be a situation like that in Egypt now, where you might say that rule by the people in some kind of thick means isn't what maybe a sociologist would say is workable. That the people who have the power to keep the regime, either to keep a democratic regime in place or not to undermine it, their interests are just not, as it were, amenable to having the large majority of people make decisions. So that might be a problem. And the reason why that relates is because it may be the case that members of the military, their interests just can't be protected if the majority of Egyptians are able to participate in political decisions. Now, so that may be the situation. My theory would basically say that you can't have a democracy unless members of both the Muslim Brotherhood and the Salafist parties are able to participate. But that might mean, in some sense, that people who hold the keys, let's say the military, might not be willing to accept the regime. So there might not be a solution, is what I'm saying.
Can you consider them a democratic regime then?
No.
Not at all. I mean, it's just...
No, you certainly wouldn't.
Right.
Right.
So they don't have a democracy going right now.
No? I would think.
Because a lot of the aid, they say the U.S. government aid.
Right, and so I have on my, if you come to my office hours, which I suggest you do, I have this New Yorker cartoon, which it has the spokesman from the State Department of the U.S., and it says, "We've decided to call the new Egyptian regime extreme democracy." Right, and so of course it's funny because my book is called Militant Democracy, but it also goes to the point that you're saying. It's not a democracy at all in any interesting sense.
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.